Well, hi, welcome everybody. In this video, I want to go over the schedule of values. And I want to do that in a fair amount of detail. The regular invoicing video covers a lot, but it doesn't specifically get into a lot of details on the schedule of values. And where you can really start with the schedule of values is in the estimate. So you can see I'm in an estimate here, and I've set my status to approved. So what I really want to do is save this, and we get our pop-up box. We definitely want to create a new project based on estimate customer details. Sometimes we want to add these items to our schedule of values, and sometimes we'll want to generate an invoice. What these two are meant for is if it's a smaller job and you're just going to do a single billing. So one invoice, not multiple bills or invoicing over a period of time. So if you've got, like I say, a small job, one invoice, and you're done, then go ahead and select those two. If it's a larger job and you're going to do multiple billings, do not select those two, and then the other two down here are optional. So that said, let's jump over to our schedule of values. So here we are in our project, schedule of values tab. And there's numerous ways to create your schedule of values, but what the schedule of values is, or SOV as we call it, it's an agreement between the contractor and the owner of how the project is going to be billed out, what line items are going to be shown on each and every invoice. So that's why we give you multiple ways to create your schedule of values. So I'll unlock the record, and over here we can add items to our schedule of values. The most common way is import from estimate, which we'll jump into, and I can add manual line items, add manual project line item. So I'll go back and do this, but I'm going to pull this up now. Import from estimate. Our estimate had 3 sections. So I don't want to show all of my line items. I might have 100 line items in my estimate. I don't want that on my schedule of values because that's what's going on to your invoice. So this is just a very clean, easy way to handle that very quickly. And I would just select those, and that would bring that into my schedule of values. Again, if I select all these, it's going to bring all those line items into my schedule of values, therefore onto my next invoice. I'm not going to select either one of those yet because we can also do a manual item. So to do a manual item. Now, if you've used an estimate and created one, approved it, etc., then the system uses the estimate for job costing. And here I can just come up. I don't have to fill all of this out for doing a manual line item. This may be a case of where I'm going to create a schedule of values because they're going to give me a deposit. Again, if I'm using the estimate, I don't have to give it item type, don't have to do assign to, and I can just do 1. And the deposit on that job was $1,500. So this is going to be lump sum. Do not have to do markup. I don't even have to really give it a cost code. I can just save and close and add that item, then continue to add the other items to my schedule of values. The key point here is that the contract amount, original contract amount, and your schedule of values must total in the beginning. This amount will change later as you add change orders to the project. So that's one way to handle the deposit. The other way to handle a deposit is to bring in all of your items, or whichever items you choose. We'll bring in our 3 here. So there's our 3 sections. We're going to bring that in. And I'll save this. And you notice now we have the new invoice button. So typically a deposit is based on a percent. So when I go to create a new invoice, I would just bill it out, each one of these line items, at 25% for a deposit. This keeps the accounting very straight, and everybody is aware of what has been billed when, and including any change orders, which I'll show you in a moment how that works. So the deposit issue can be handled by manually creating line items, making sure that your contract amount and schedule of values totals, and you can make those items anything you want, or bringing in from the estimate and then creating the invoice for 25, 50%, which we will do here in a moment, whatever the amount of deposit totals. So the other thing with change orders, I'm going to save this, and up here in your gear button you have a setting. Do this with work orders as well, but change orders, billed and unbilled. If I turn this on, then when I have a change order and I set my billing status to unbilled and approved, it will automatically bring that change order into our schedule of values. And I had just refreshed the screen, so there's my change order. My change order items, change order number. So you don't have to worry about doing the import method, which we do have. So I can import my change orders, import from work orders, but it makes it real handy to have that setting up in gear, in the gearbox, so it just automatically brings those in. You don't have to worry about forgetting something. So now let's go back and we'll do an invoice using that deposit as an example. So I've clicked Save. I want to hit this. I don't want to come up here and hit this invoice button. Simply come over here. It's going to make your life a lot easier. It's going to fill out the top portion of the invoice for you. You do have your status over here. We're going to add items to invoice, import from schedule of values. We do have other ways to do it, but we used our schedule of values. We're going to bring in our line items. Probably bring that in as well, but if it's just, I'm going through the deposit example here, so you probably wouldn't have a change order yet. But I'm going to close that. And I just put 25, if it's a 25% deposit, I'm just going to type 25% in each one of my line items. And you notice that that came in as 100 because 100 was able to be billed 100%. But I can clear that. That will zero it out. Then you can come in and do your 25. And having that little clear button helps a lot on a longer schedule of values, so you don't accidentally bill for something you didn't want to. So it's nice to be able to zero out that entire column. So there's the schedule of values in Contractor Foreman. I hope that helps. If you need anything, just feel free to give us a shout. Thanks, everybody.